Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, I just saw a story on Tik Tok and a couple other news articles about it, about a woman who had an allergic reaction on a Royal Caribbean ship. At least she claims it was on a Royal Caribbean ship. And she refused to pay the markup to get an allergy pill from the medical center, and they didn't sell it anywhere else on the ship. But I got so many questions about this because I don't know what would happen if the worst case scenario happened in this situation. Who would be at fault? So first off, let's clarify the situations on cruise ships. All cruise ships have a medical facility on board. They have a doctor on board, usually multiple doctors and nurses on board to take care of you. They have to supply, keep stock of certain medications and things that are, not readily available at all times. Like if you're a regular hospital in a big city, etc., you have to stock them, they expire. There's a whole cost involved to running a medical center. So obviously they're going to charge for anybody going there needing some care. Normally, people come down, they have colds, people slipped on the floor, they have twisted ankles, things like that happen, and there's a nominal cost to do it. Not nominal, very expensive cost to go down to the medical center. Sometimes really it seems high markup. Now, if you've ever been on a cruise ship, you know they usually have a little pharmacy on board in one of their shops. You can get Tylenol, you can get Advil, you can usually get Benadryl of some kind there, reaction, something, right? Something for nausea, something for allergies. There's usually one or two things you can get there, but they don't stock 100,000 of them. They can run out until they get another shipment in. And that might have been the case in this, where a woman was on board less than 24 hours. Here's a picture of her as she normally looks as she posts on TikTok. And then here's a reaction where she was stating that she's having an allergic reaction on board. And less than 24 hours of being on the ship. Now, she went looking for Benadryl or something in the pharmacy area where they keep those kind of supplies. Nothing there. In order to get a Benadryl pill to take down this swelling and everything at the medical center, they were going to charge her apparently $390 for that pill. Now that pill over the counter is probably about $9. They wanted to charge $390. That's a huge markup. But remember, they got to keep doctors on staff. They got to do all this. They have to pay for it. There's going to be a huge markup. That does, however, for an over-the-counter medication that's a common item, like, having an allergic reaction to something or seasickness, to me, though, that seems like an overly abundant price. I will say that right now. But she refused to pay it. And so she continued to swell and have this reaction. Now, luckily, she did get something from another passenger who had something on them. And the swelling went down and she was okay. The problem with this situation is, what happens if it didn't stop with swelling? What happens if it all of a sudden starts to react to her breathing? What if she's alone in her cabin and has a hard time breathing and can't get to the phone and passes out and the worst happens? Who's now at fault? Yes, the lady could have paid the $390 and got the pill. Also, the cruise line could have said this is a necessity and you have two choices. You either get off the cruise ship at the next port or you take this pill. They could have given her the pill and billed her anyway, I guess, is one way, and tried to get the money from her afterwards. But the whole thing I'm thinking of is, what's the liability here? If the doctor says, yeah, she needs this, and she goes, no, I'm not paying for that, she says, well, then you're not getting the medication. And she goes up and the worst case scenario happens later on that evening, who's now at fault? There is such a thing as the Hippocratic Oath, right? To do no harm. And somebody possibly having a fatal reaction to something because you wanted to mark something up 1,000% for an over-the-counter medication? Who's liable? The cruise lines? Now remember, they're not based in the United States. They have completely different laws, and suing them is completely different. But I think in this case, if they refuse to give her, that pill, well, actually they didn't refuse. They said she could have it. But what if she says, I don't have the money? I can't afford $390. Now who's responsible? The doctors have an obligation to make sure nothing happens to this person who went to see them. And if they know there's a possibility of something happening, do they not have an obligation to treat them no matter what the cost? The cruise line can try and recoup it afterwards, but in reality, do they not have that obligation? Do they not have that responsibility to make sure nothing worse? A twisted ankle, somebody can't get around. No big deal, right? Oh my goodness, yeah, I'm stuck. I'm going to limp around for a while, and I'm going to get off this ship, and that's it. Somebody who's having an allergic reaction that could cause breathing issues or other complications, that needs to be addressed. And in this case, it looks like they didn't, because she wouldn't pay the huge markup fees. And I'm thinking, that's a liability on the cruise line. And if such a thing had happened where the worst case scenario happened, they wouldn't be out $390. They'd be out millions of dollars from the family who sued. So I kind of wonder, what do you guys think? Where's that line? Where do you draw the line about, between liability and cost structure, right? Do the cruise lines not build in some kind of structure into their cost for the medical center about situations like this? Where, hey, by the way, if we don't treat this person and something happens, we could be really liable for a lot of money. It's worth us not to have to charge $390 in this one particular case at this time. We can treat it as a medical emergency. Here you go. Charge them $50 for the visit. Something that's more reasonable. Twisting, and again, had she had medical insurance, the medical insurance would have paid for this. Don't know if she had medical insurance. I don't know if she just didn't think that was a fair price and didn't want to pay it. But either way, obligation is to the patient. And if something would have happened to this lady because they didn't give her that pill because she didn't pay $390 for a $5 to $6 item, I'm thinking there would be a cost-benefit analysis after that lawsuit to this reaction. Maybe charge 50 cents a passenger on that cruise ship to cover something like this in the medical center. I don't know what the solution is, but I know the solution can't be to just hope for the best and hope that passenger survives so we don't get sued. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think? And I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.